Okay, so this is herping vlog number 3 from SnakeID TV. We ended up having a relatively strong close to last week despite it starting off kind of slow. And I'd say the weather's about the same as it was, maybe a little bit more humid, which is great. Temperature's still kind of low though, so very difficult to say what that will mean. But we also have a new moon, so that can work out well in terms of the snakes, but there's no guarantees. So we're going to walk around this spot for a while, see if we can't come up with something, and if not, we're going to move on and try somewhere else. So check back in when we find something. Okay, so no snakes yet. It's like I said, a bit dry and cool, a little bit better than last week, but not too surprising. I haven't seen anything yet. I did come across this pretty interesting looking spider. I've seen these before, and usually a little bit bigger, but they're pretty cool. And again, I'm not a specialist, so I'll see if I can hunt down the species and name and tag it in here. On the last video, we actually had somebody who was kind enough to correct the spider and species that we found in this area. I'd referenced it as a fishing spider, and he referenced it as something else. I'll try and put that in here for clarification as well. But I figured since we're slow on the snakes, I'd stop and check out one of the first critters I've seen so far. Okay, so I'll try and film this while he's still around. But this is the local species of Firefly here in Hong Kong. And the ones here bioluminesce a bit more of a green color. I've seen blue and I've seen more yellow, like what you might see out in the Western Hemisphere. But this guy was kind enough to land on the ground and give us a chance to film him, which I think would be a bit difficult if he was flying and bioluminescing, even though I wish I could grab that. I've seen their larvae, which are significantly bigger than they are when they're more mature and winged. They have really interesting heads and very shiny bioluminescent tails that they can cover and open up. But really kind of cool that we got the chance to see this one. I've actually never been able to film one on the ground like this, so pretty happy about that. There he goes. I'll see if I can get some shots of him bioluminescing when he flies, but I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. And regardless, you've got a good look at what he is morphologically like up close. Alright, back again with something else. Okay, so not having much luck here, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next spot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we strike out tonight. We are getting to the end of the season, and I imagine we're in transition. A lot of things are going under for brumation, or just slowing down activity-wise in general, waiting for those last few days or weeks of perfect conditions, and we're certainly not that just yet. But we'll go try the next spot. It's a spot where some things can come out when it's a little bit cooler, so fingers crossed. But regardless, we'll probably be hitting it again tomorrow anyway, so let's see what we come up with. Alright, so for the folks at home, they get a little bit squeamish around big bugs. I present to you the long-legged centipede. And these guys are nowhere near as threatening as their longer-bodied, shorter-legged cousins here in Hong Kong, but they are extremely fast, and as you can see, they have many very long legs. This guy is probably body-wise about 2.5 inches long, with the legs probably 5 or 6 inches long from front leg tip to rear leg tip, and they can really get moving. There we go, he's moving a bit slow. There, he's on the move. So these are quite common out here as well. See lots of these. This is not the biggest. I've seen a lot quite a bit bigger than this, but another interesting critter in the absence of snakes. So let him get on his way, and we're going to move on to location number 2. Check back in when we get there. Okay, so we're at spot number 2, but for better or for worse, it's very, very cold and very, very windy. Nothing saying that you can't find interesting animals, including snakes, in these conditions, but I found it to be not as likely. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here, do a couple of passes, and see what it's like. But my gut's telling me probably not great. So if there's a hard cut out of here and into tomorrow's session, you'll know we didn't do too well. Otherwise, we'll check back in if we find something. Okay, day 2 of SnakeID herping vlog number 3. Skipped out on the morning today, so came to a further out spot for the evening. Gonna look around here and see if we can find anything out on the crawl tonight. Check back in if we find something. Okay, so this is an interesting find at night. It's a checkered keelback. This is one of the more common snakes here in Hong Kong. They live near water sources, or actually semi-aquatic. Some would argue they're almost fully aquatic. And they get their common name here from, let's see. So they get their common name here from the checkered markings on their back, which makes sense. And then their scientific name, species name Flappy punctatus, references to the Hong Kong specific species, the more yellow coloration on the back. So these are, like I said, pretty common, actually pretty fun snakes to find. They're very bitey and quite aggressive, and they're also known for something called pseudo-autotomy, which is how snakes can actually drop their tail under stress and with a little bit of strain. So this guy actually has a complete tail, and you can see how long it is. But often they're found with bits of their tail missing. You can see him cruising this wall pretty adeptly. So cool find to start the night. It's pretty early on. We're going to keep looking. But this is a great start. So we'll check back in if we find something else. Checkered keelback. Okay everyone, so we've got our second snake for the night. We saw an adult version of this last week, and it's the Redneck keelback. Now the interesting thing about the Redneck keelback is from juvenile to adult there's quite a lot of color change. And you can see here, if you go back to the last video, you'll notice that the head was an olive brown color, but here on the juveniles it's actually a nice slate gray. That'll change as they get older, it'll turn into that green. But in addition to that, they also have a very clearly delineated black collar with a yellow outline, which you can also see pretty clearly here. That'll also fade over time, but in juveniles it's quite good looking. So this is a pretty fun second snake. It's very early in the night. We got a lot more snaking to do, so hopefully we can find a few more before all's said and done. But altogether, 2 this early on, not too bad. Alright, check back in if we find something else. Okay everyone, so we are on the snakes tonight, and after just showing you a juvenile redneck keelback, I'm happy to now be able to show you a subadult redneck keelback. So you can see this one has the head, which has actually already started to turn the olive color that I'd mentioned, but it still retains some of the black and yellow collar, and also has some pretty interesting black flecking on the red portion of the neck. So it's quite a fun find to get at least 2 at different stages of development. These are a pretty common snake here in Hong Kong, so it's not too surprising that we'd find more of these, but still a lot of fun. So this guy's a little bit stressed out and ready to get on his way, so we're not going to bug him too much, but good to show you, and let him go and see if we can find something else for you. So here's a close-up of the subadult redneck keelback. I know we closed off the video on the last comment, but he decided to sit still for a minute as I was moving around him. So this is a better look at the head and neck. The head's a bit hidden, but you can still see the olive coloration. And like I said, you can see the fading, but still pretty obvious yellow and black collaring. So great find. Off to the next one. Alright everybody, definitely on the snakes tonight. And here is one of Hong Kong's more common species in a not uncommon defensive posture, all balled up. This is the white-spotted slug snake. These snakes are named after their diet, which ironically is more commonly snails than slugs. I've actually never seen one eating a slug. But they have specialized jaws that they use to pull the snails out of their shells. And I've done some reading recently that says there may be some element in their saliva that helps break down the snails a little bit more and helps them pull them out of their shell. So really fun find. Again, not an uncommon snake, but I haven't seen one in a while. And this is a really fun and unique defensive posture that I don't see quite as often. I've seen them play dead, I've seen them wriggle around and musk a little bit, but I don't see the ball quite as often. So pretty fun to be able to show you. Alright, we'll take a break, see if he starts moving around and grab some more, or if not, we'll leave him be and move on and see if we can find something else. Okay, so our white-spotted slug snake was on the move, and just as I started recording, he got a little bit defensive again, but it's a bit easier to see his head, and it'll be tough to really get a good view of the jawline that I'd mentioned, but they have kind of a stubby pill-shaped head and a really tiny lower jaw that juts out to pull the snails out of their shell. So a little bit better view here, and I think we're going to give this guy a break and let him move on. But great snake, off to find more. Alright everyone, we've got a very special treat tonight. This is Boiga multimaculata, otherwise known as the many or large spotted cat snake. So this is a species of semi-arboreal to arboreal snake here in Hong Kong. I say semi because I always tend to find them as adults crossing paths and never up in trees. But this is an extra special night because this is not an adult. This is a tiny, tiny baby. That thumb is parallel with him right now. Now I'm going to move the thumb away because it's worth noting that these are actually a rear fang venomous snake, but the venom is not too dangerous to humans. I have heard some secondhand accounts of people not feeling too good after a bite, but I know many people that have been bitten with no real ill effect, maybe a little bit of itching, localized itching. Still never a good idea to get bit, but not a very dangerous snake. But this guy is a heck of a poser. I think he thinks he's a viper, and he's hanging out here on this tree right now. So really, really cool find. Very exciting for this time of year. And in full disclosure, with all these cat snakes I found, this is actually the first real juvenile. So exciting night for me too. Alright, looks like we're hot on the snakes, so let's get moving, see if we can find something else. Alright, so to cap off the night, we now have a mature redneck keelback. So we can see here, as I described, the yellow collaring and black collaring is gone, and the head is gone completely olive green. And he's doing his normal threat display for redneck keelbacks, where they flatten out their neck a little bit like cobras and raise their head up off the ground. It's actually pretty fun to watch. But as I mentioned, they're generally a pretty inoffensive snake. And we're not going to mess with them too much though, because they are actually technically quite dangerous if they're able to get a good bite on you. But they also are generally not too interested in biting. They'd much rather get away. So here you can see he's doing his threat display, and if he gets a chance, as you've seen already, he's going to make a break for it, just like this. So really fun actually to get all three stages of development in one night, and this late in the year as well. And this is actually a pretty, I would say, standard looking mature redneck keelback. And if you get a little bit close, you can actually see the groove in the neck where they can secrete poison if they feel threatened enough. Now normally that wouldn't happen unless they're being grabbed or handled roughly, but I am going to be careful not to stress the animal out too much because I wouldn't want him to burst those nuchal glands and secrete the poison here unnecessarily. So, really great find. Very fun evening so far. Snaking slowed down a little bit, but we're going to keep at it. We've still got a ways to go. And if we find anything else, we will check back in. So we're finishing up here, and didn't find anything else after the last redneck there, but still a pretty good night overall. And try and get out maybe once or twice before the end of the week if we can. But if not, I think this is a good number of snakes for us to set up the video for. So regardless, hope you enjoyed. And if we get out again, we'll see you back soon. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next vlog.